We typically imagine the Greek and Roman pantheons with figures like Zeus or Jupiter sitting securely at the peak of a cosmic hierarchy. These ruling deities possessed every hallmark of omnipotence. They were immortal, they commanded the elements, and they seemingly answered to no higher authority. However, a close reading of texts like Aeschylus's Prometheus Bound reveals a crack in that authority. The play mentions a secret prophecy, a sequence of events that even Zeus lacks the power to stop. This indicates that the king of the gods is himself bound by an external destiny. The enforcers of this fate are the three sisters, known as the Moirai to the Greeks, or the Parcae to the Romans. Known as the Fates, these three deities dictate the path of every life by spinning, measuring, and eventually cutting a metaphorical thread that determines the end of all mortals and immortals. If these three sisters possess the leverage to overrule the king of the gods, we have to ask who or what is directing the fates. The answer is their mother, Ananke. She is the personification of necessity and the only entity with the mythological standing to overrule the decisions of the fates. Early Orphic mythology identifies Ananke as an uncreated, self-formed being who existed long before the human-like gods of the later pantheons. She appeared at the very dawn of existence, merging with Kronos, the personification of time, to form an inescapable force that encompassed the entire cosmos. The Orphic myths describe her and Kronos as two massive serpents, coiling around the primal egg of creation and crushing it with overwhelming pressure. This event fractured the egg and separated the eon of chaos, creating the ordered universe of earth, heaven, and sea. In this context, Ananke acts as the foundational architect of the cosmos, the force that violently pulled reality out of nothingness. The Greek noun Ananke translates directly as force, constraint, or necessity. While she began as an abstract cosmic serpent, her classical-era depiction evolved into a humanoid goddess. In this later form, she is usually seen holding a spindle, actively measuring out human circumstance. Her ancient worship is marked by a deep paradox. In the city of Corinth, she shared a temple with Bia, the goddess of violent force, yet she was also frequently linked to Aphrodite Urania, the representation of celestial love. The ancients synthesized these traits by viewing her as an impersonal power. To them, she was the binding gravity of life, encompassing both the violence of existence and the celestial order of the stars. Ananke represents the inescapable course of reality, a force that operates entirely outside the boundaries of human morality or divine mercy. The Olympian gods were defined by fickle human traits like anger and lust. Ananke, by contrast, represented the cold, uncaring laws of reality and physical constraint. Because she embodied a permanent reality of the universe rather than a religious character, the concept of Ananke survived long after the death of the Greek and Roman religions. In the dialogue Timaeus, Plato explores this concept through a theory of how the world was first organized. Plato argues that the creation of an ordered world requires intellect to push against the stubborn opposing force of necessity, or Ananke. Through a process of persuasion, intellect slowly directs these chaotic elements into a stable existence. By the 19th century, the author Victor Hugo revived the concept of Ananke to describe the fatalistic struggles of the modern human condition. Hugo described a triple Ananke, the crushing constraints of dogmas, laws, and the human heart. He famously etched the word into a wall of Notre Dame Cathedral, weaving the goddess into the setting of his most famous novel. The goddess entered the field of psychology in the 20th century through Sigmund Freud's Civilization and Its Discontents. Freud viewed human civilization as a constant struggle between eros, our drive for love and community, and Ananke, which he defined as the harsh exigencies of reality. Whether envisioned as a cosmic serpent, a philosophical weight, or a psychological limit, Ananke remains the definition for the inescapable constraints that bind both power and intellect. No matter how high we build our gods or our societies, we all exist within the bounds of what is necessary.